Good evening. This is Pastor Neil Parsons, the chosen one, and I'm going to talk to you tonight about trust. The first scripture is half truths show a lack of trust in God. Genesis 20:11 through 13. Abraham replied, I said to myself, there is truly no fear of God in this place, and they will kill me because of my wife. Besides, she really is my sister, the daughter of my father, not of my mother. And she became my wife. And when God had me wander from my father's household, I said to her, this is how you can show your love to me. Everything we go, say of me, he is my brother. So Abraham is telling half-truths. Well, that means he's not trusting in his wife or in Amalek. If you tell a half-truth, you don't trust in anybody. Difficult to continue trusting when nothing seems to happen. Genesis 30:22, page 57. Then God remembered Rachel. He listened to her and enabled her to conceive. She became pregnant and gave birth to a son and said, God has taken away my disgrace. She named him Joseph and said, may the Lord add to me another son. And you see, Rachel kept wanting sons. This was her seventh son. This time my husband will treat me with honor because I have borne him 6 sons. Well, no, not necessarily. Let's just read a little bit here to repeat itself. Here, twice a town well at Haran was the site of significant events in one family's history. Here, Rebekah met Eleazar, Abraham's servant, who had come to find a wife for Isaac. 40 years later, Rebekah's son Jacob returned the favor by serving his cousin Rachel and her sheep from the same well. The relationship that developed between them not only reminds us of that romance, is not a modern invention, but also teaches a new lessons about patience and love and trust. Trust in the Lord. So did Rachel not trust her husband? It sounded like that. When facing new situations, Genesis 46, 3 and 4. So Israel, we're going to start with the beginning because Jacob goes to Egypt. So Israel set out with all that was his. And when he reached Beersheba, he offered sacrifices to the God of his father Isaac. And God spoke to Israel. Now remember, Jacob here is Israel. He is the leader of nations. Here I am. God spoke to Israel in a vision at night and said, Jacob, Jacob. Here I am, he replied. I am God, the God of your father. He said, do not be afraid to go down to Egypt, for I will make you into a great nation. There I will go down to Egypt with you, and I will surely bring you back again, and Joseph's own hand will close your eyes. Then Jacob left Beersheba, and Israel's son took their father Jacob and their children and their wives and the carts and the Pharaoh had sent to him. So Jacob and all of his offspring went to Egypt, taking with them their livestock and possessions they acquired in Canaan. Jacob brought with him to Egypt his sons and grandsons and daughters and granddaughters, all his offspring. So when you have visions or dreams, you must trust in the Lord to do what he says. That's the only way it's going to work. To do what he says. Difficult when one is strong. Genesis 49:18. I look for your deliverance, Lord. I look for your deliverance. In other words, I'm trusting you for my deliverance. Genesis 50, verse 5. My father made me swear an oath and said, I'm about to die. Bury me in the tomb I dug for myself in the land of Canaan. Now let me go up and bury my father, then I will return. Pharaoh said, Go up and bury your father as he made you swear to do. So you see, he's burying Jacob. But he promised. When you promise somebody, they're trusting you to keep that promise. And that's what God says. When you become one of me, I'm trusting you to worship me and follow me. Trusting God's promises, 24, 50, 24. But God will surely come. Joseph stayed in Egypt along with all his father's family. He lived 110 years and saw the third generation of Ephraim's children, also children of Machir, son of Manasseh, were placed at birth on Joseph's knees. Then Joseph said to his brothers, I'm about to die, but God will surely come to your aid and take you out of the land, this land, to the land he promised in an oath to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Joseph made the Israelites swear an oath and said, God will surely come to your aid, and you must carry my bones up from this place. So Joseph died at the age of 110, and they embalmed him. He was placed in a coffin in Egypt because he promised, his kids promised to bury him where God had made a place for him. It's all about trust. We're trusting our kids to keep our promises. Trust God for the way out of your problem. Exodus 2:9. Pharaoh's daughter said to her, Take this baby and nurse him for me, and I will pay you. So the woman took the baby and nursed him. When the child grew older, she took him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. She named him Moses, saying, I drew him out of the water. Okay, we know the story behind this. Because he was a Levite, and Levites were not welcome. Okay? Levites were not welcome. But Moses turned out to be what God wanted him to be. God chose Moses. They didn't know it all at the time. Moses did, I know, but some of the other people in this story didn't know what Moses was going to do. But Moses trusted God some of the time. But there's also a thing in that. We're supposed to trust God all the time. See, Moses was trusting God as a way out of his problems. He had problems, he killed somebody, but he trusted God to get him out of it. Trusting God for the first time, Exodus 14, 10 through 11. As Pharaoh approached the Israelites and looked up, and there were the Egyptians marching after them, they were terrified and cried out to the Lord. They said to Moses, "Was it because there were no graves in Egypt that you brought us to the desert to die? What have you done to us, bringing us out of Egypt?" Well, so let's go back. They weren't happy as slaves, but they weren't happy wandering around in the desert either. So they didn't trust Moses at this particular time because they thought Moses was going to let them die. Well, most of that first generation, all of that first generation did. They didn't trust the Lord enough, not just to mention Moses. And that's part of the reason for dying. They complained and they didn't trust God. Trusting God spares us much grief. Exodus 14:11. They said to Moses, "What have you done to us by bringing us out of Egypt? Didn't we say to you in Egypt, 'Leave us alone, let us serve the Egyptians'? It would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die in the desert." Moses answered the people, "Do not be afraid. Stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring to you today. The Egyptians you see today will never see again. The Lord will fight for you. You only need to be still." Well, you only need to be still, but sometimes that doesn't work because you're not going to listen to God if you're still anyway. Be still and listen to God. Be still and listen to the word of the Lord. Trusting God, I read that one. Lack of trust leads to stress. Exodus 16, 2 through 3. The whole Israelite community set out from Elim and came to the desert of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai. On the 15th day of the second month after they had come out of Egypt. In the desert, the whole community grumbled against Moses and Aaron. The Israelites said to them, if only we had died by the Lord's hand in Egypt, where there we sat around pots of meat and ate all the food we wanted. But you have brought us into this desert to starve the entire assembly to death. Then the Lord said to Moses, I will rain down bread from heaven for you. The people are about to go out each day and gather enough for the day. In this way I will test them and see whether they follow my instructions. On the 6th day they are to prepare what they bring in, and it is to be twice as much as they gather on other days. So Moses and Aaron said to all the Israelites, in the evening you will know that it was the Lord who brought you out of Egypt. Then Moses told Aaron, say to the entire Israelite community, come before the Lord, for he has heard your grumbling. While Aaron was speaking, the whole Israelite community, they looked toward the Lord and said to Moses, I have heard the grumbling of the Israelites. Tell them at twilight you will eat meat, and in the morning you will be filled with bread. Then you will know that I am the Lord your God. That evening quail came and covered the camp in the morning. There was a layer of dew around the camp, and the dew was gone. The flakes like frost in the ground appeared on the desert floor. When the Israelites saw it, they said to each other, what is it? For they did not know what it was. Moses said to them, it is the bread the Lord has given you to eat. This is what the Lord has commanded. Everyone is to gather as much as they need. Take an omer for each person, and you have in your tent. The Israelites did, they were told. Some gathered much, some little, and then they measured it by the omer. The one who gathered much did not have too much, and the ones who gathered little did not have too little. Everyone had gathered just as much as they needed. Then Moses said to them, no one is to keep any of it until morning. However, some of them paid no attention to Moses, and they kept part of it till morning. But it was full of maggots and began to smell. So Moses was angry with them. Well, you think Moses was angry with them? What about the Lord? The Lord was angry with them because they did not do what he said. They did not trust him to believe in him. Okay. Naomi's trust in God that brought great blessings. Ruth. This is because, Ruth trusted in God. Naomi trusted in God. 4:15. Praise be to the Lord, who is this day has not left you without a guardian redeemer. May he become famous throughout Israel. He will renew your life and sustain you in your old age. For your daughter-in-law who loves you and is better to you than 7 sons has given him birth. Then Naomi took the child in her arms and cared for him. The woman living there said, Naomi has a son, and they named him Obed. And he was the father of Jesse, the father of David, who is in line of Jesus. Sometimes I don't talk much about the lines of Jesus or his ancestry. But God thinks it's important, so we do have to read it. But some of these people are only in the Bible once. But that doesn't matter. They're part of it. And you should study it when you want to. So I'm going to pray, and that is the end of the first one. And we're going to do the next one here in a minute. Father, I thank you in Jesus' mighty name. And Lord, I ask that you just continue us to talk to us about trust. In Jesus' mighty name, amen.